Hello. I would like to take a moment at the top of our show to honor the loss of a fallen hero. There's no easy way for me to tell you this, but on Sunday afternoon in the first quarter of their game versus the Minnesota Vikings, Aaron Rodgers' right collarbone was pronounced dead. This is a particularly heartbreaking loss, as it comes just 4 years after right collarbone's twin brother, left collarbone's tragic demise. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the whole clavicle family, as well as his close friends, scapula and sternum, who are taking this loss particularly hard. I would like to take a brief moment of silence and honor the loss of right collarbone. Thank you. Hit the music.
Only God can judge me now. One shot, everything rides on tonight. Even if I've got 3 strikes, I'ma go for it. This moment, we own it.
In our top story tonight, Aaron Rodgers' injury and the impact on the Packers season going forward. It was announced Monday that Rodgers will undergo surgery to repair his broken right collarbone. Head coach Mike McCarthy said, when asked, his season could, quote, potentially be over. This injury is nothing new to Rodgers, as in 2013, he broke his left collarbone, obviously on his non-throwing side, and this time around, it is obviously on his throwing side. Nick, what is your take here?
This is for the Packers. He really was the only good player on the Packers outside of Jordy Nelson. But they need him, and without him, they're not going to do well at all. So that's pretty much their whole season.
Now, I noticed, I saw some rumors swirling around, maybe a little Colin Kaepernick return to the NFL, maybe? Huh?
I think they should just stick with what they got. And bringing Colin Kaepernick in this late in the season would be kind of pointless. By the time he got acclimated to the system and learned all the plays and everything, it would be kind of pointless not to see what their backup has. Colin Kaepernick might even bring in some of the negative stuff that comes along with him. But I think it would be best just to keep him out of the locker room. It wouldn't be worth it just for the 1 or 2 wins that he might bring, even though he probably is better than their backup that they have.
Well, let's talk about that. Their backup, obviously, Brett Hundley out of UCLA. I'm not as down on Brett Hundley as some people are. And that, here's a quick fact for you. It has been proven that Packers quarterbacks named Brett can win. So I think a lot of people forget to realize that simple fact. But Brett Hundley coming out of UCLA, he was a 5th-round pick. A lot of draft experts predicted he would go a little sooner than that. This is a guy who had a really great college career in his 3 seasons. He averaged 3,322 yards a season, also averaged 25 passing touchdowns. He's built like a quarterback. He is 6'3", 226 pounds. The only bad part about Brett Hundley I was seeing was that in college he had no pocket awareness. And by that, I mean he was sacked 125 times in 3 years. I'm not sure if he likes being violently thrown to the ground on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But when he got drafted, I mean, look at Tom Brady. Who knows how he'll do? And I think for all we know, this could be the start of something for this young man. I don't think he will be the next Aaron Rodgers, but he might be a really good quarterback, and they might be able to trade him, or they might be able to keep him there. Who knows? But I'm not going to sell out on him until he's played a few games and developed a little bit, and we'll see how he does. Just because he's in his quarterback doesn't mean they can't still win the division. I mean, Minnesota is down to their 3rd-string quarterback, depending on how things go with Bridgewater's rehab. But they still could make the playoffs, but without Aaron Rodgers, I don't see it happening.
You're exactly right. This could be the start of something new. It feels so right standing here with you. It's a High School Musical reference for all you kids out there. Moving right along, we're going to break into some segments now. First segment, we're going to do the AyerMax error report. Okay, so this is where we will go over just how wrong we were in our Week 6 NFL predictions. Some people were more wrong than others. So let's just get right into it. You may recall I had some strong words to say about the Broncos-Giants matchup. And I said how the Giants had no chance, upset of the century alert. Well, you can just kind of see for yourself. The Broncos, by the way, are 11.5-point favorites in this game, which that seems a little light. Come on, dude. They're going against the number one pass defense in the league with wide receivers that you've never heard of.
They can't run the ball. Upset of the century alert is what you're saying.
That is right. The Giants rolled into Denver and took down the Broncos 23-10. Trevor Siemian did leave this game a little early. We saw the return of the human giraffe in Denver. Brock Osweiler came in for a couple series. But the big point here is that Eli Manning, as I had mentioned in the last episode, he is throwing to receivers you've never heard of. His top 3 wide receivers were all out of the game, but that didn't stop him from making a stud out of tight end Evan Ingram, who went 5 for 82 with a touchdown. And the G-Men also realized they could run the ball. Orleans Darkwa, 21 rushes, 117 yards. Nick, I'm not going to give you any credit here whatsoever. The only reason you picked the Giants was not because you thought they could win, but it was because you didn't want to pick with the spread every single game. You know that's a fact.
Well, that is. I also didn't see them going 0-6. But if I had to put money on it, or like any amount of money that really mattered, I definitely would not have picked the Giants. So I can't take too much credit. But I think this also kind of goes to show that Odell Beckham Jr. does not translate to wins. I do kind of think he's overrated, not in his skill set, but how much he equates to wins.
That's true. So this isn't just all about how wrong I was. Nick, you also were a little wrong in your picks last time.
Oh, definitely. 2 of my bigger ones were the Falcons and the Chiefs. Thought the Chiefs would win, especially with how atrocious the Steelers were the week before. But the Chiefs did not play like an NFL team in the first 3 quarters. And then the Falcons continue with their second half woes. I don't know if that's as much a Super Bowl hangover or if the Falcons are kind of exposed. I don't know how good the Falcons really are. I kind of feel like they're just an average team this year.
A little Super Bowl hangover going on down in the ATL. All right, moving right along. Next up, we're going to play a little game called Overreaction or Logical Action. Great music we have there. So the first one, the San Francisco 49ers. They replaced quarterback Brian Hoyer with rookie C.J. Beathard out of Iowa. Nick, I get that Brian Hoyer is not going to be interpreted as an all-star. In the game against the Redskins, Hoyer went 4 for 11 with only 34 yards passing. He had a passer rating of just 45 when C.J. Beathard came in. But here's the thing, the Niners knew what they were getting when they signed Brian Hoyer. They knew exactly the kind of production he was capable of. He's not flashy, but I really don't know what this team is looking for. I know they're in tank mode. I know they probably shouldn't win any games, that way they can get the number 1 overall pick. And Brian Hoyer was doing a pretty good job of towing the company line. But C.J. Beathard did not put up any numbers whatsoever coming out of Iowa. If I'm Brian Hoyer right now, hang in there, buddy. Because better days are ahead. Even if the 49ers don't want you, this is a quarterback-starved league, and some team will take a flyer on you simply because you're slightly better than average. I promise you, there is some team looking to go 7-9 out there, and Brian, I want you to keep waiting by your phone. So in my opinion, it is a complete overreaction by the Niners to replace Brian Hoyer, the quarterback they paid all that money to in the offseason. Nick, I want to get your thoughts. C.J. Beathard or Brian Hoyer?
Well, I think Brian's a very good backup or even a transition quarterback, which that's what he is. Why not go with the rookie? I think it's a logical reaction to give the rookie a shot, see what he can do. Obviously, Brian Hoyer's not translating to wins or really anything much. So give the rookie a shot, see what he can do. It's nothing to lose at this point in the season. So I think it's logical and fine.
That's fair enough. They did use the 3rd-round pick on him. So next up, we have Martavis Bryant requested a trade from the Steelers. Nick, is this an overreaction or a logical action on his part?
Overreaction. Why get traded from one of the better teams? One that was favored to win the Super Bowl. He's got a very good receiver on the other side in Antonio Brown that's going to draw some attention away from him. Good quarterback and a good running game. He could possibly get traded to a team without a quarterback, which would lead to no passes to him, or a quarterback that can't get passes to him. And I think he should stay where he's at. I think it's definitely an overreaction.
Okay, here's what I have to say about this. I think it is completely logical for Martavis to want out of Pittsburgh. This is a man who is criminally underused. He is 6'5". I just saw a video of him running a 4.27 40-yard dash, which is way faster than the one he ran at the Combine several years ago. He is averaging less than 3 receptions a game, and he has 1 receiving touchdown, and that came in week 2. It is clear he is an afterthought in this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, with all of the wide receiver targets going to Antonio Brown, and absolutely he should want, or he absolutely, it's logical for him to want out. But here's the thing. Martavis is acting like, nothing happened. He recently tweeted, and quote, "Big win today, and tomorrow right back to work. Tomorrow I am happy to be a Steeler, and can't wait to reach number 7 this year." Number 7, obviously meaning their 7th Super Bowl. He's acting like someone who is in a bad relationship, where at home they're constantly at each other's throats, but whenever their friends ask about him, he'll give the typical, "Guys, I'm fine. Come on, I'm fine." He is Stu from the first Hangover. Guys, I was out of line. I deserved it. That is what Martavis has been turned into.
Yeah, I mean, he even said that the trade that he had requested was to the Golden State Warriors. So yeah, he's trying to hop on that bandwagon to get a ring there too.
If you thought it was a super team before, I mean, good lord. So moving on, we're gonna play a little game. The next segment is called The Hype Train. Shout out to Flava Flav for agreeing to be the conductor on this one. Now this is a segment where we'll toss out guys who are on the rise and decide, are we buying a ticket to board the hype train or are we staying in the station? I'll start us out. First one, this isn't a guy, but Saints defense. Nick, in their last game versus Detroit, the Saints defense forced 5 turnovers, 3 of which they turned into a touchdown. They recorded 5 sacks, and they swatted down, and I can't believe this is real, 16 passes thrown by Matthew Stafford. Now, this isn't a one-time thing. After starting the season 0-2, the Saints, Week 3, held Carolina to just 13 points. And then, the Week 4, they shut out Smoke and Jay and the Dolphins. I am going to say that the Saints defense is real, and I am booking a ticket to board the hype train. What do you think?
I don't think they're real. Jay Cutler and the Dolphins aren't that good. They hadn't scored a touchdown before that anyway. The Panthers, Cam Newton's an average quarterback. Nothing really special there. The Detroit Lions, that's definitely the one outlier where that was a good defensive game. But I'm not going to say that they're actually a really good defense until they can prove it week after week. If they are, for real, that would be really good for Drew Brees and help him maybe win another Super Bowl and make a deep run. But right now, I'm not feeling them.
All right. Next up, we're going to have Deshaun Watson, the curious case of Deshaun Watson. Nick, since week 3, Deshaun Watson has thrown for 1,070 yards, 14 touchdowns, and he's also rushed for a touchdown. He is on fire recently, but that is only going against teams with very bad pass defenses. Going off of week 3 forward, the teams he has faced and put those giant numbers against are ranked 32nd, 22nd, 25th, and 21st in terms of passing yards allowed per game. Are you buying a ticket on the hype train?
I will buy a ticket on the hype train for Deshaun Watson. I like him as a young quarterback. I think he's got a pretty decent team to build to grow around in the Texans. I think he got lucky that he wasn't drafted by the Browns for one.
That's very true.
That he got taken by the Texans. We'll see how he does against better defenses when they come along later on in the season. But especially for the division that he's in, facing teams like the Colts and the Titans 2 times a year, the Jaguars might be a little challenging since their defense has improved a lot.
True.
But for right now, I'm definitely feeling Deshaun Watson, and I'll definitely buy a ticket for the hype train for him.
I'm going to buy a ticket on the hype train as well, but I'm going to do it tentatively, as I'm going to keep my receipt for that purchase in case I need a refund. All right, next up, next segment, Back from the Dead. Shout out to Halloween that is coming up. Now in this segment, we're going to list off a couple guys who were written off as being able to contribute in any sort of meaningful way, but have since risen from the dead back to relevance. The first one, Nick, Adrian Peterson.
I don't want to say he's back from the dead yet. I think it's kind of a Frankenstein case. Bruce Arians is a great offensive coach, and I think that's kind of some of the magic behind it. Adrian Peterson still has a little bit of gas left in the tank, clearly, but I don't think he'll be able to do what he did week after week, and I don't think he'll be even close to replicating it. I think this was kind of a one-time show, and the magic's going to wear off.
I'm going to say that AP is back from the dead. Now, Bruce Arians is known as the quarterback whisperer. Apparently is also the running back whisperer.
Adrian, listen up. I need you to go out there and do the jump cut that you used to do, okay? All right, just go out there, and I want you to be like vintage Adrian, okay? Can you do that? Team on 3.
He's the running back whisperer. Add that to there's a new feather in his cap. I think he's back. Here's why. Behind the worst offensive line in football, he ran the ball 26 times for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. I have no words. This is vintage Adrian Peterson. He is back from the dead.
Well, Arizona is the retirement place for NFL players with Larry Fitzgerald, Carson Palmer, and now Adrian Peterson, and they're all still doing relatively good.
I'm going to stop doubting the senior citizens home. I'm never going to pick against them again. Good Lord, was I wrong. Next up, this is somebody who isn't 100% back yet, but we're going to throw him out there anyway. We have Teddy Bridgewater. All right, it was announced that Teddy Bridgewater would return to practice Wednesday of this week. Teddy is, of course, coming off of that really just awful knee injury he suffered in training camp last year. I think this is great news for the Vikings, obviously, because Sam Bradford, he has knee problems of his own. He might be done for a career, not just season. It's just awful. So I think if they can get Teddy back to that 2015 form, you know what I mean, where he led them to 11-5. Do you remember they won 11-5 in 2015?
Yeah.
That's insane. I think 100% if Teddy's practicing, it's only like a couple weeks away from Teddy time up there in Minnesota. Back from the dead.
Yeah, and it's really good news, especially for the Vikings, who have a pretty good defense. I think he could translate to a few more wins. Not that Sam Bradford's bad, but I would definitely rather have Teddy Bridgewater. But, yeah, he's a good passer, can scramble a little bit. I think it'll be good for him, and I think they can reach the 11-5 mark again.
Well, they're 4-2 right now. They're tied for first in division with Green Bay. Green Bay obviously lost Aaron Rodgers for pretty much the rest of the season. So I don't think the Lions are challenging them in that division. And Mitchell, don't call me Mitch Trubisky. I don't think he's leading the Bears to anything close to a playoff berth. So I think this is Minnesota's division to lose.
Oh, definitely.
All right, that just about wraps it up for this video, NFL recap. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. We are at AyerMax Media. Nick, any parting words of wisdom?
No, make sure you stay tuned. Subscribe to our channel. We're still trying to grow, and support us along the way.
Absolutely. All right, for AyerMax, I am Justin Ayers.
I'm Nick Lomax.
Signing off.